In this video, I will show you how to find unknown values when you are dealing with similar triangles. So, the first thing you have to do is match up the corresponding sides using the similarity statement. For example, I see that we are looking for this question mark, and that is side LB. So here's LB, and that's going to correspond with CB. And here's CB. So these are corresponding sides. Now, what about KB? KB is at the beginning and the end. So that's going to correspond with DB. And here's DB right here. So these are corresponding sides. So you want to pick one triangle to be new and the other triangle to be old. Okay, it really doesn't matter which one is new and which one is old. I usually let the X or the question mark be the new triangle, but it doesn't matter. What matters is you write your equation in the form new over old is equal to new over old. Okay, so I'm just going to put an X instead of a question mark, but looking at the yellows, new over old would be X over 14. Now, looking at the blues, new over old would be 7 over 18. Then you just cross multiply. So we've got this diagonal. So that's going to give us 18x as we multiply those. And then if we look at the other diagonal, all right, that is 7 times 14. That's 98. And then you would divide both sides by 18 to get x by itself. So I guess we'll round to two decimal places, 5.44. All right, let's take a look at number 8. Again, time to match up corresponding sides. So the question mark is LB. Here's LB. LB corresponds with DB. All right, so DB is right here. So notice these pictures are exactly identical. All right, they're the same picture. But last time, the question mark was corresponding with the 14. This time, the question mark is corresponding by the 18. That means there's nothing about the picture that's going to tell you which sides are corresponding sides. You have to use the similarity statement. Okay, looking at KB, which is at the beginning and the end, that corresponds with CB. And here's CB right here, so these are corresponding sides. All right, so again, you want to pick one triangle to be new and one triangle to be old. It doesn't matter which one is which, but set up your equation in the form new over old equals new over old. Looking at the yellows and putting an X instead of a question mark, new over old will be X over 18. Looking at the blues, new over old will be 7 over 14. 7 over 14 reduces down to 1/2. So I recommend always reducing whenever you can. Then we're going to cross multiply. So if I look at this diagonal, that's going to give me 2x equals. And obviously the other diagonal, now that I reduced, I don't need a calculator because 18 times 1 is just 18. So when we divide both sides by 2 to get x by itself, we find that x is equal to 9. All right, problem number 9. Again, our first job is to match up corresponding sides. So see the 2x plus 6? This is side ED. So here's ED. That's going to correspond with PQ. Here's PQ. So those are corresponding sides. Meanwhile, we have the 16. That's CD. So here's CD at the end. That corresponds with QR. Here's QR. Pick one triangle to be new and the other one to be old. It doesn't matter which one is which. I usually pick the one that has the X's in it, and I call that new. But it doesn't matter as long as you write your equation in the form new over old equals new over old. Look at the yellows. New over old would be 2x plus 6 over 10. Now look at the blues. New over old would be 16 over 8. I'm going to reduce this. 8 goes into 16 twice. So, okay, so this is really just going to be 2. All right, I guess you could go 2 over 1 if you really wanted to just stick with cross multiplying. And maybe I'll do that just to avoid confusion. So if I look at this diagonal, then I'm just going to get 2x plus 6. All right, 2x plus 6 times 1 is just 2x plus 6. If I look at the other diagonal, then I'm going to get 20. All right, and then you just subtract 6 from both sides, so that'll give you 2x is equal to 14, and then you divide both sides by 2, and you get x is equal to 7. All right, how about number 10? Let's match up the corresponding sides. Oh, they're doing it again. So notice that the pictures are exactly the same, but these are not the same problem because the similarity statement has changed. So this is ED, which is right here in the similarity statement. That corresponds with QR. So those are corresponding sides. This is CD, which is the first 2 letters. So that corresponds with PQ, which is right here. All right, new, old. So we will write our equation in the form new over old is equal to new over old. Looking at the yellows, new over old will be 2x plus 6 over 8. Looking at the blues, new over old will be 16 over 10. Whoops. 16 over 10. Reduce this. I can see that both of these are divisible by 2. So I'm going to have 2x plus 6 over 8 is equal to 8 over 5. If you can't reduce a fraction like that in your head, use your calculator. 16 over 10. All right, now let's cross multiply. All right, so be careful. When you multiply these, please understand that you have to do the distributive property. So I'm going to do 5 times 2x plus 6. And I'm going to be doing this deal right here. Okay, but I'm not going to write this down next time. I'm just going to understand that when I'm doing 5 times 2x plus 6, I'm going to take that 5 and I'm going to do the distributive property right here. All right, so 5 times 2x is going to be 10x, and then 5 times 6 is 30. So I'm going to get 10x plus 30 equals. All right, so in general, I'm not going to write this down. I'm just going to do the distributive property right here. And now here I have the other diagonal, which is just going to be 8 times 8. which is 64. Subtract 30 from both sides. So that's going to give you 10x is equal to 34. And then if I divide both sides by 10, that's going to give me 3.4. Okay, so that was number 10. Number 11. Okay, so let's do the same thing. Let's match up our corresponding sides first. Okay, so this x, that is AC. Here's A, here's C. That corresponds with EC. All right, EC is right here, so those are corresponding sides. Okay, look at this 2y minus 7. That's DE. DE is right here. That's going to correspond with AB. AB is right here, so those are corresponding sides. Okay? Obviously, that leaves these to be corresponding sides. Okay, so that will help me find the sides. Well, as long as I'm marking colors, I think I should go ahead and mark the angles as well. Well, I'm going to need angle Z in a minute. That's one of the things we're looking for. So I'm going to color angle Z yellow because it's across from the yellow side. Now, that must correspond with angle B. All right, that's also across from the yellow side. Okay, so now let's find these variables. Okay, so let's pick one triangle to be new and one triangle to be old. It doesn't matter which one is which, as long as you write your equations in the form new over old is equal to new over old. Look at the yellows, right? The yellow sides first. New over old would be x over 16. Now, I'm not going to do the blues next because there's another variable in here. I'm going to use the greens. So for the green sides, new over old would be 24 over 12. 24 over 12. All right, 24 over 12. 12 goes into 24 two times. So this is going to reduce down to 2 over 1. So now I'm just going to cross multiply. All right, so that'll just give me x, because x times 1 is just x. And then looking at the other diagonal, that's going to give me 32. 2 times 16 is 32. So x is 32. Okay, now let's find y. So new over old. Okay, so I'm going to do 6 over 2y minus 7. All right, I'm just going to keep doing new over old equals new over old. So 6 over 2y minus 7 equals. Now I'm going to use the greens again. So again with the 24 over 12. So again, I'm going to reduce that. So 6 over 2y minus 7 is equal to, and this is 2 over 1, just like before. So time to cross multiply. Be careful, we need to do the distributive property here. When I multiply 2 times 2y minus 7, I am going to be multiplying times the 2y and the negative 7. So that's going to give me 4y minus 14. Of course, the other diagonal, 6 times 1 is just 6. All right, let's add 14 to both sides. And that'll give us 4y is equal to 20. And then when we divide both sides by 4, we get y equals 5. All right, so we have x and we have y. Now it's time to find z. Well, there's no work to do because the corresponding angles are equal. All right, so z corresponds with the 77. So we're just going to automatically write z equals 77 degrees. All right, I think this will be the last one on this particular video. Corresponding sides. So we've got the x right here, that's AC. That's the beginning and the end. So that's going to correspond with DC. DC is right here, so those are corresponding sides. Okay, now 2y minus 7, that is DE. DE is going to correspond with AB. So these are corresponding sides shown here in blue. All right, that leaves the 24 and the 16 to be corresponding sides. Now pick one triangle to be new and pick one to be old. It does not matter which one is which. Okay, so what matters is you need to set up your equations in the form new over old is equal to new over old. I'm going to start with the yellows. New over old will be x over 12. All right, now we need to use the greens. We can't use the blues because there's a variable in there. So I use the greens. New over old will be 24 over 16. Now I'm noticing that both of these are divisible by 8. So you definitely want to reduce these to make the numbers smaller and easier to work with. 24 divided by 8 is 3. 16 divided by 8 is 2. Now in this case, 24 and 16, they're divisible by 4. They're divisible by 2. So some of you would have struggled to reduce that. You wouldn't have seen the 8 right away. So if that's a challenge for you, use your calculator. 24 over 16. Boom, 3 over 2. Okay, easy as pie. And then you cross multiply. So this diagonal gives us 2x because we multiply those. And then when we do the other diagonal, 3 times 12 is 36. And then you have to divide both sides by 2. And that's going to give us x is equal to 18. All right, now let's go for the y's. So the blues. We need to do new over old. So let's do 6 over 2y minus 7, because that's new over old with the blues. Now, new over old with the greens is this 24 over 16. And again, we know that reduces down to 3 over 2. So let's use that to our advantage. All right, smaller numbers are easier to work with when you cross multiply. Okay, now we are doing the distributive property with this 3. Do not forget that. So I'm going to multiply by the 2y. And I'm going to take that 3 times -7. So that's going to give me 6y minus 21 is equal to. And then I multiply the other diagonal. So that's going to give me 12. 6 times 2. So adding 21 to both sides, guys, will give me 33. I don't think this is going to go in evenly. I need to divide both sides by 6. It's going to be some kind of a decimal. 5.5. Oh, that's not too bad. All right, great. That just leaves z. We need to find z now. We need to be careful. What angle does z correspond to? Now, I could use the colors that I've already been doing. See how the z is across from the 16? So I could color the z green. So, see how the 76 is across from the 24? So the 76 would be green. So that means that the z corresponds with the 76. I also could have used the fact that angle D, which is right here, corresponds with angle A. I could have used that. Either way, z is just going to be 76 immediately. There's no work to do.